Quiet time is an effective way of helping children learn acceptable behaviour.
James, I asked you to stop banging those blocks while I was on the phone. You kept banging the blocks. You need to go to quiet time now. Come on, please.
Quiet time really is an alternative for many parents to yelling, shouting or smacking their children when they're not cooperating.
Now, you're going to be staying in quiet time for 3 minutes.
What's involved is that you either remove the child to the edge of the activity as a consequence for not cooperating, or you ask them to sit in a particular spot in the same room where the problem occurred. You can ask older children to sit on the floor or on a chair for a couple of minutes. A toddler's cot or playpen can be used as the quiet place from the age of about 18 months onwards.
When you see problem behaviour, act quickly. Get close, gain your child's attention and tell them exactly what to do. If the problem behaviour stops, praise your child for doing as you asked. If it continues, tell your child what they've done wrong and that the consequence is quiet time. When you take your child to quiet time, ignore protests, don't argue or nag and don't debate the point. Tell your child they must be quiet in quiet time for a set period, and when the time's up, allow them to rejoin the activity and praise them as soon as they behave well. Short periods of quiet time work best. Try 1 minute of quiet for 2-year-olds, 2 minutes for 3 to 5-year-olds, and no more than 5 minutes for children aged between 5 and 10 years.
Remember, it's very important that children don't receive any attention in quiet time. If they're not sitting quietly and therefore not following the rules of quiet time, take them to time out as a backup.
James, you haven't been quiet in quiet time. Now it's time to go to time out. You going to come on your own, or do you want Mummy to help you?
Go on my own.
Time out involves removing your child from the situation where the problem is occurring for a short period of time. It can be used as a backup to quiet time if your child is not sitting quietly. Time out can also be used as a consequence for something more serious, like a temper tantrum or aggressive behaviour that involves hurting others. Time out really is a positive strategy. It has the advantage of helping children learn self-control, to calm down and to learn acceptable alternative behaviour. Another advantage is that it requires us, the parent, to remain calm, and it gives everyone a chance to calm down.
The place you use for time out is important. It should be uninteresting, so your child's bedroom is probably not the best place. It should be safe, well lit and well ventilated. And you should try to prepare the room before you need it.
Make sure that you put away anything that might be dangerous or that could hurt your child. Then explain the routine. Explain what behaviours will earn time out and walk your child through each of the steps.
Before you start using time out, prepare your child. Choose a time for a meeting when the child is not having a behaviour problem and explain the steps of the time out routine. Check that your child understands the routine and that they need to be quiet before they can come out of time out. Act quickly when a problem occurs. Get close and gain your child's attention. Tell them what to stop doing and what to do instead. If your child cooperates, then you praise them for doing as you asked. If your child doesn't cooperate, tell them the problem and the consequence, such as, "You have not done as I asked, now you must go to time out." Take your child to time out straight away. Try to remain calm but firm. If your child is struggling or resisting, pick them up and carry them.
As you put your child in the time-out area, remind them of the rules. That is, they need to be quiet for the set time before they can come out.
James, you need to be quiet for 3 minutes in time out.
Leave the door open. If your child tries to run away, you may choose to close the door or calmly take them back until they have been quiet for the set time. When your child is in time-out, ignore all misbehaviour. You've got to be prepared for the storm. It may include kicking or yelling or calling out, but you need to persist. If your child gets a lot of attention or they get out of time-out when they've been misbehaving, then they're more likely to play up and to be noisy next time they have to go into time-out.
Okay, James, you've been quiet for 3 minutes in timeout. You can come and play with your blocks now. Come on.
After timeout is over, try to involve your child in another activity. And when you see them behaving well, praise and encourage them.
Oh, James, what a great building. Look at the way you've got that balanced. That is really good. Well done. I love that. That's a good, tall building.
If the problem occurs again, be prepared to repeat the timeout routine.
When you're using timeout, it's important to keep track of how often you use it. Write down each time you put your child in timeout and how long it takes before they're quiet. What you should find is that you need to use timeout less and less often over the first couple of weeks. On the first day, your child may need to go into timeout several times, but by the end of the first week, you should see a marked reduction in how often they need to go into timeout. If problems are still persisting after the second week of using timeout, then be prepared to seek professional advice.
We've just seen a variety of strategies for managing misbehaviour. We saw how to set ground rules and how to use directed discussion to deal with rule breaking, how to deal with some behaviour problems by ignoring them, how to give clear instructions to a child. And we explained the strategies of logical consequences, quiet time and time out. Choose the strategies you'd like to use with your family and keep track of how it goes.